In Game 2, the Minnesota fans were looking for more high-scoring action to go with the dome crowd noise. Manager Tom Kelly looked his hitters over prior to the game. And they must have looked good. But looking tougher, especially for the visiting Cards, was the difficulty following a ball hit in the air. With the light-colored dome as a background, not to mention 55,000 screaming fans waving white hankies, a ball can easily get misplaced up there and end up on the ground. The previous day's parade of Twins runs was now history. And on this day, it was up to starter Bert Blyleven to keep the Cardinals from getting a parade of their own started. In the early going, he did just that. And when he struck out Jose Oquendo to end the second, it looked like a pitcher's duel was in the offing and that there might not be any kind of parade today. St. Louis starter Danny Cox had retired the first 4 Twins when he faced Gary Gaetti. To deep left field, and Gaetti has hit it out. The home cooking was on the fire again as Gaetti's blast ignited the Metrodome crowd into a hankied frenzy. The hard-hitting third baseman had put the Twins into the lead, and that was a good sign. Then in the 4th inning, all signs pointed to the Twins padding that lead. The Whitey was giving different signals. The bases were loaded with Twins. Kirby Puckett was at third base. Ken Herbeck was at second. Gary Gaetti was at first, and designated hitter Randy Bush was at the plate. Whacked down into the corner, and that will score Puckett. It will score Herbeck, and the Twins lead 3-0. Once again, the thunder under the dome erupted, and once again, the Cardinals must have been wondering just who are these guys driving in all these runs. Tom Kelly seemed to know that any one of his players could come through when called upon. Even Tim Laudner, his catcher who had hit a meager 190 during the regular season. For the second game in a row, the Twins were exploding with a big 4th inning that featured some more unlikely heroes and a close play at the plate.
Great slide enables him to get around Tony Pena. The throw is on the money. Look at the slide. Back edge.
Dan Gladden kept things going with a single that scored Tom Brunansky. And after giving up 6 runs, including 5 in this inning so far, Danny Cox was gone. But the Twins weren't done yet. Greg Gagne slicing double drove in 1 more run, making a total of 6 in the inning and a score of 7-0. All the Cardinals could muster off Blyleven up to this point was complaining about his motion. Frank Viola knows that happiness is a big lead, especially when covered by the Terminator, Jeff Reardon. Grounded to Herbeck. The Twins are halfway to the title.
Hitting's contagious, and we spent all year long picking each other up. One guy's not swinging good, the other one picks a guy up, and so forth all the way down the line. And we've been swinging the bats pretty decent. I'm not trying to do anything different. Trying to go up to the plate, get a good pitch, and try to put a good swing on it, and try to relax at the plate a little bit.
I couldn't stop him. You know, I went out there. I tried my best to stop him, but it didn't work. And you know, you got to tip your hats to him and come out. We got to go out there Tuesday and take it to him.
It's gonna be a different story at their park, and like I said, I'm sure they're gonna be shooting for us, and we're just gonna try to be ready and just fight fire with fire.
Some stories thus far in the 1987 World Series. In Game 1, the decibel count. victory for Viola. And a grand slam for Gladden. In Game 2, Twins catcher Tim Laudner and Randy Bush triggered another fourth-inning Minnesota outburst. And tonight, the series shifts from the indoor comfort of the Metrodome, several hundred miles down the Mississippi River to St. Louis. ABC Sports presents the American League champion Minnesota Twins against the National League champion St. Louis Cardinals in Game 3 of the 1987 World Series. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, the Cardinals home for the first time since last Wednesday night when they all celebrated a Cardinal pennant as they beat the San Francisco Giants in the decisive 7th game of the National League Championship Series. After 2 road losses to begin things, full house tonight and a very cold night in St. Louis where it's 45 degrees and a 12-mile-per-hour wind is blowing. I'm Al Michaels. Welcome to St. Louis and welcome to Game 3 of the World Series. The Minnesota Twins riding high, not only winning twice, but doing it very convincingly. 10-1 on Saturday, 8-4 on Sunday, and manager Tom Kelly and the Twins are just 2 victories away from a World Championship. The Cardinals, of course, know exactly what they have to do. They have to take at least 2 out of 3 to extend the series. They have to do it here at home, and the Cardinals have to start generating some things. This is a team that has only 2 extra base hits in the first 2 games. They've drawn only 1 walk, and the top of the order is so important these days with the absence of Jack Clark and Terry Pendleton. They have Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith, and Tommy Herr batting 1, 2, 3, and at this point they are a collective 2 for 24. So the Twins have stymied the Cardinals in every respect. Whitey Herzog knows the ups and the downs. He managed at Kansas City. He won the world title here in '82, lost in a 7-game series in '85, and I asked him before the game about his gut feeling and his instincts.
Well, basically, I think that a lot of the people have said you have to win the night. You have to win the night. Well, my gut feeling tells me we don't have to win the night, but if we don't win the night, it's going to be very tough because I don't think any team's ever come back from 3 down and won 4 in a row. But the big thing there is, even if we did win tonight, we'd still be down 3-1. We're still going to have to go back to the Metrodome, and we're still going to have to win a game there. So it's going to be a very, very tough series now for us to try to turn this thing around and win it, not only because of that, because we don't have Clark and Pendleton in the lineup.
You're limited, of course, and you mentioned not having Clark and not having Pendleton, and that's been well documented and chronicled. Any other thing that you thought about in terms of a lineup change or a lineup switch or any other thing that you could have done?
No, the only thing I possibly might do is when we get back to the Metrodome, because Jim Linneman has a pretty good power hitter, and he's also an outfielder, that I possibly will play Jim in right field against Blyleven if he would pitch. And Blyleven's history has been that he has given up a lot of home runs to right-hand hitters, and in the last few years he's given up just as many home runs to right-hand hitters as left-hand hitters.
So that was Whitey, and there is Jack Clark, the missing Cardinal, and we'll visit with him when we come back. Well, the Cardinals are not using it as an excuse, but there is no way you can avoid it. In black and white, 35 homers, 106 RBIs, and he missed 31 games. Jack Clark in uniform, but sitting on the bench. And here's what he had to say before the game.
Well, it's tough. I wish I could be out there, and you know, I don't know use harping on it or whatever. It's frustrating, it's disappointing, but life goes on, and again, this team showed a lot of heart, and so as a result, I can still get involved with the individual accomplishments and the team accomplishments out there, and knowing that I was a part of it, and you know, hopefully I picked some guys up early, and they picked me up late, and it's just been an overall team effort. We haven't had one person that's been somebody we can do with or without. You know, we needed everybody, and as a result, we're where we're at because of that.
Briefly, what exactly does this team have to do to get back into it?
Well, pretty much we just got beat. You know, there's times when you go out there and you know, team's going to blow you away and all that, and they blew us away and beat us at the same time. They've got all phases of their game working. We don't have one going right now. We haven't got pitching, we haven't got hitting, we haven't got speed, we haven't got anything like that happening for us right now. Same kind of thing kind of happened against us with the Giants, and you know, we came back and then got a good pitch game, and then ended up getting into the 7th game. We need a win. There's no doubt about it, and or else their momentum, and they're playing really intense and up baseball right now, and if we don't pick up the pace, this thing could be over with real quick. But you know, we've been here before, and the guys have been down and out supposedly since spring training, and we just keep rising to the occasion. We need a win bad, and you know, we'll be ready for it back here at home.
Briefly, what about your future? Where will you be playing next year?
Well, I'm not really thinking about that. I'm concerned about it, but I'm not really thinking about that right now. You know, this is so important right there, and it was my best year. I had my greatest season ever. Could have been better, but I'm happy with what I was able to accomplish with the Cardinals, and proud of that, and the team's proud of that. And you know, we drew 3 million fans, and it was an exciting year, and you know, hopefully I'm going to be doing it again for the Cardinals. If not, then you know, we'll see where things take you. You know, I'm a free agent. I don't know what the market's like. There's a lot of things up in the air right now, but the World Series is the biggest thing up in the air.
And for his Cardinals tonight, it will be John Tudor going to the mound against Minnesota's Les Straker in Game 3. Right now, let's meet the starting lineups, and for that, the public address announcer at Busch Stadium, John Hewlett.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Twins starting lineup. First, the youngest manager in the major leagues at age 37, and the youngest ever to win an American League Championship Series. The manager, number 10, Tom Kelly. Leading off and playing left field, he is hitting .345 in the postseason play with 11 runs batted in. Number 32, Dan Gladden. Batting second and playing shortstop, he had the game-winning RBI in Game 4 of the American League Championship Series. Number 7, Greg Gagne. Batting third and playing center field, he led the American League with 207 hits this season. Number 34, Kirby Puckett. Batting fourth and playing third base, he led the Twins with 109 RBIs this season and is hitting .500 in the World Series. Number 8, Gary Gaetti. Batting fifth and playing right field, he is hitting .348 in postseason play. Number 24, Tom Brunansky. Batting sixth and playing first base, he led the Twins with 34 home runs this season. Number 14, Kent Herbeck. Batting seventh and catching, he has had 4 RBIs in the first 2 games of the World Series. Number 15, Tim Laudner. Batting eighth and playing second base, he is hitting .333 with a home run in the World Series. Number 4, Steve Lombardozzi. Warming up in the bullpen, tonight's starting pitcher, who will bat ninth, a major league rookie after 10 seasons in the minor leagues, number 17, Les Straker. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the 1987 National League champions, St. Louis Cardinals. First the coaches, non-starters, and members of the support staff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Cardinals starting lineup. First, the man who has led the Cardinals into 3 World Series in the last 6 years. The manager, number 24, Whitey Herzog. Leading off and playing left field, the first player in Major League history to steal 100 bases in each of his first 3 seasons. Number 29, Vince Coleman. Batting second and playing shortstop. The man with the golden glove, who batted .303 this season. Number 1, Ozzie Smith. Batting third and playing second base. One of the top RBI men in the St. Louis lineup with 83 this season. Number 28, Tom Herr. Batting fourth and playing first base. His game-winning RBI clinched the Eastern Division Championship. Number 23, Dan Greason. Batting fifth and playing center field. He had the game-winning RBI in Game 7 after knocking in 105 during the regular season. Number 51, Willie McGee. Hitting sixth, playing right field. He's leading the Cardinals with a .417 average in postseason play. Number 27, Kurt Ford. Batting seventh and playing third base. His seventh game home run last week brought the Cardinals to the World Series. Number 11, Jose Oquendo. Batting eighth and catching. He led the Cardinals with a .381 batting average during the championship series. Number 26, Tony Pena. Warming up the bullpen, tonight's starting pitcher who will bat ninth. He posted a 10-2 record in the regular season and was the winning pitcher in Game 6 of the championship series. Number 30, John Tudor. Presenting our nation's flag tonight are members of the Naval Recruiting District of St. Louis, representing the United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, Major League Baseball is proud to present a woman from Miami whose talents have long been known around the world. In the last year, she has risen to stardom in the United States with 3 top singles and appearances in 2 of the top 3 top-grossing films in 1986. With us tonight to honor America with our national anthem is the lead singer of the popular Miami Sound Machine, Miss Gloria Estefan.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
We'll return to Game 3 of the 1987 World Series after this message from Major League Baseball and a word from your local station. High in the air to deep left field. Coleman goes back. A grand slam.
ABC Sports and Major League Baseball present the official 1987 World Series highlight video cassette. All the dramatic moments, plus exclusive interviews and special camera coverage. Send $19.98 plus $3 for postage and handling by check. Or use Visa or MasterCard. Call 1-800-4ABC-VCR. The preceding announcement was sponsored by Major League Baseball.
A cold night, rained last night. You can still see the moisture on the surface as you look down upon Busch Stadium, but no rain in the forecast tonight for Game 3 of the 1987 World Series between the Minnesota Twins and the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm Al Michaels, and the Twins, of course, are in a most enviable position. They know they can't lose the world title on the road. They can only win it or go home to the Metrodome, because games 3 and 4 here tonight and tomorrow, a 5th game if necessary Thursday, and if we have to go back to Minnesota, game 6 on Saturday afternoon, game 7 would be played on Sunday night. Let me turn now to Tim McCarver and ask you, sir, to assess, if you would, the first 2 games of this series.
Well, Al, there's really not much to it. As a matter of fact, concerning the most recent plight of the stock market, I guess you could compare the Bulls and the Bears over the weekend. The Minnesota Twins mighty bullish in beating the Cardinals at the Metrodome in Minnesota. As a matter of fact, the composite score was 18-5 in those 2 games. The Cardinals really didn't have a chance. But Whitey Herzog's back home, and think of all the reasons, Whitey being the practical optimist that he is, think of all the reasons he has to be happy to be back home. Number 1, he is back home. Number 2, he has his ace, John Tudor, going against Les Straker, and Frank Viola and Bert Blyleven are not opposing John. He's got his left-handed hitting lineup in, and all in all, I think the edge tonight has to go to the Cardinals. How about the Palmer exchange?
Well, in other words, you're not selling St. Louis short, is what it
No.
is. All right. Let's find out from Jim Palmer what he thinks of the Cardinal and Twin futures.
Well, I think Whitey ought to be optimistic. As a matter of fact, I think he ought to be doing cartwheels. So I can think of about 4 reasons. Number 1, he's out of the Metrodome, and first of all, they're wounded, but he's still alive. Secondly, really, they have the best home record in the National League, along with the Mets, 49-32 here at Busch Stadium. Thirdly, John Tudor. He's only 28-5, 3-1 in postseason play here at Busch Stadium, so pretty good guy to have on the mound. And we've been talking during this World Series about why the Twins have such a great home record at the Metrodome, and we know why. They score a lot of runs and get good pitching, but why are they so poor on the road? One of the worst records in the American League. Well, it's easy when you look at the statistics. 100 more runs on the road have they given up, talking about their pitching staff, than at the home in the Metrodome. And tonight's no exception. Les Straker will be pitching for him. He was 6-3 at home, but only 2-7 on the road. So I get the feeling, Al, that if Whitey owned a ranch, this was the game you'd bet the ranch on.
He needs it, that's for sure. Okay, game 3 of the World Series coming right up when we come back. And so the pregame ceremonies and festivities are over, and Ozzie Smith with a little added twist there. Not simply a flip, but something right out of the Bella Caroli school. As you look at the Twins lineup, Dan Gladden leading off and Gagne at short. Kirby Puckett batting 3rd. Gary Gaetti having a great postseason in the cleanup spot. Brunansky hitting 5th and Herbeck 6th in the order. Tim Wadner does the catching. Lombard Dozy hits in the 8th spot. And the pitcher is Les Straker. Now defensively for the St. Louis Cardinals in the outfield, Coleman, McGee, and Kurt Ford. The infield, Oquendo at 3rd. Smith, Herr, and Dreesen plays first base tonight against the right-hander. Pena back of the plate. And on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals is John Tudor with a mark of 10-2. And of course, we have been showing you our regular feature prior to each game. Tony Gwynn of the San Diego Padres, who knows a little bit about hitting and a little bit about the pitchers in this league. Here's Tony assessing John Tudor.
John Tudor's real deliberate, so it appears that he's overpowering, but I think it's his windup that really lulls you to sleep. He's got great composure on the mound. Nothing ever rattles him. And when he's on, he's really tough to hit. You can't go up there and sit on one pitch. You've got to go up there and just try to get your bat on the ball. But if he doesn't have his good stuff, then he has a tendency to be wild high. But I think the reason why he's been so effective is the development of his changeup.
And he had that really working the other night against San Francisco. Greg Kosk is an American League umpire, so he hasn't seen, well, he hasn't seen Tudor in a while anyway. John used to pitch with the Red Sox. John McSherry at first, Ken Kaiser at second, then Terry Tata at third, with Dave Phillips down the line in left and Lee Wire in right. Meanwhile, picking up from where he left off on Sunday, there is Whitey Herzog with Ken Kaiser before the game, and he was picking up that argument about Bert Blyleven.
Well, he said he balked 11 times in the entire game, 3 times in the first inning, and Kenny Kaiser was the umpire at third base, so he's the next umpire other than Lee Wire, who's home plate, to really call that balk, even though anybody could.
I don't think I've ever seen a manager argue with an umpire in a street close.
That happened about an hour before the game, and what's amazing is that Whitey, thinking ahead, when Blyleven pitches again, Kaiser could be back of the plate. So Whitey getting in some early action as Gladden starts by taking a strike, and the count is 0-1. Gladden, Gagne, and Puckett here in the first inning. Gladden with a grand slam home run in game 1 and 3 for 9 in the first 2 games. And if you're going to throw one away, this is the most opportune time to do it. 1-1.
Jimmy, so you never played for Earl Weaver. He used to catch him on the way home. He knew he never won any of the arguments inside the ballpark.
Not before the game in street close, but after the game in street close. All right.
Tudor working on Gladden with Gagne to follow, and the 1-1 pitch is lifted to right field and toward the line, curling foul, back out of play. And it's 1-2 on this very chilly night with temperatures in the mid-40s and the wind blowing at about 12 miles per hour, and the temperature expected to drop to about 40 degrees. In the air to right field and right to Ford, who doesn't have a roof to worry about tonight. 1 away.
Batting second, number 7, shortstop.
Good background for the outfielders here.
Yeah, his roof tonight is a lot darker and much higher.
Yeah. So 1 gone in the first inning, and Greg Gagne comes to the plate. In this World Series, Gagne is 1 for 9, so he is one of the few Twins who really hasn't shared the wealth, at least offensively. 0-1 the count.
Tony Gwynn talked about John Tudor, and I think that you can get a pretty good idea if you're watching at home just by watching Tony Pena. When he moves and Tudor's on his game, the ball is going to be very much in the location of his glove. Nothing very tricky. Basically, to right-handed hitters, and I talked to him before the game, nothing but fastballs and changeups.
Good change there.
So watch Pena and watch where he moves, and then watch if Tudor gets the ball there. If he does, he's going to be on. Change up away, right on the corner, right where Pena's sitting. Curveballs only to Kent Herbeck. He said he has not thrown more than 2 and 3 curveballs to right-handed hitters in the last 3 years.
He reaches out and lifts it to shallow right. Tommy Herr goes out, and there are 2 gone. So Tudor begins pretty much the way he began and ended against the Giants last week, working the outside part for the most part, getting them to lunge and reach, and he has retired the first 2.
We talked about the circle change thrown by Frank Viola in game 1. Well, Tudor throws his changeup quite a bit differently. As a matter of fact, he doesn't use his last 3 fingers. He uses the middle 3 fingers. It's almost a palm ball, and he throws his changeups with such varying speeds with the same arm motion as his fastball, and that's the secret of having a good changeup. Has nothing to do with the body speeding up, but the same arm motion.
Take a look at his motion. Back in 1985, he was 1-7, then won 20 out of the next 21 games. And right there you see his right elbow hit his right knee, and that is the key. His high school battery mate, after starting out 1-7, called him and said, "Hey, you're not pitching the way you used to." He went back to that motion and then rattled off 20 out of 21 wins. 18 in a row at one point here in Busch Stadium.
Grounded down to Tommy Herr. So a good beginning for the Cardinals in game 3. Twins gone in order after a half. Minnesota, nothing. St. Louis coming up. Going to the bottom of the first inning now at Busch Stadium. And for the Cardinals tonight, Coleman, Smith, and Herr. The big 3 at the top. 2 for 24. Then Dreesen, the cleanup hitter. McGee hits in the 5 spot. Ford 6th. Oquendo batting 7th. Tony Pena does the catching, and John Tudor the pitching. No designated hitter in the games in the National League Park. Unlike in Minnesota, where each team could use the DH, and we'll be able to if we go back there Saturday and Sunday. As far as the inside pitch is concerned on Les Straker, let's find out from the Milwaukee Brewers' Paul Molitor.
The important factor for Les Straker being effective is getting through those first few innings. He has a tendency early in the ball game to give up big innings. Now what happens is he'll get a few runners on base and get a little bit flustered. Now as a hitter, the advantage will swing in your direction. If you can just be patient in these situations, eventually he's going to give you a good pitch to hit in these run-scoring situations.
Defensively behind him, the outfield is Gladden, Puckett, and Brunansky. The infield, Gaetti at third, Gagne at short, Lombardozzi at second, and Herbeck at first, with Laudner back at the plate and Les Straker on the mound.
I think one of the keys tonight for the Cardinals to get untracked is to take a strike off of Straker. As a matter of fact, he's a high ball pitcher, and his success tonight depends on whether Greg Kosk, the home plate umpire, is going to give him that high strike.
Well, if he gets it tonight, that's going to be a scoop, because you haven't been getting it in either league the entire year. One of his biggest problems, and we saw it, is control. He's a rookie. 8-10 on the year, as we said, 6-3 at home, 2-7 on the road. Slider, changeup, fastball. Very much like Tudor in that respect. Doesn't have a curveball like we saw Blyleven have the other night. But Tudor, while he's picked off 5 this year, Straker's had 5 balks, so he can get a little bit, I guess, unnerved, and you could see that in the playoffs. Of course, it's a little bit better to pitch here than it is against the Tigers with 225 home runs. If you saw Game 2, you saw Lee Wire, a National League umpire. He went around the edge of the plate and really unearthed the black edge, what we call the black. And the reason he said he did that is because he has a wide strike zone. Greg Kosk apparently doesn't have that.
Coleman to lead off with a bunt that will bounce, fielded by Herbeck. No, he doesn't tag him, to the disbelief of the Minnesota first baseman. But now they're going to get some help on the play. McSherry is going to confer with Kosk. McSherry said no, but now Kosk says yes. He's out.
Sure looked like it. Looked like he almost knocked him out of the base path with a tag.
Well, a base runner also can make his own base path if he's not avoiding the tag. If Coleman went out of the baselines avoiding the tag, then he would have been called out. It appeared Herbeck touched him anyway.
Yeah, it looked like what I said, or what I meant to say was that he knocked him out with a tag, meaning he tagged him so hard.
Yeah. Let's see if he goes out of the baselines avoiding the tag anyway, whether he tagged him or not.
Well, he definitely got him, even though at first base McSherry was screened. Even without being asked, he went to Kosk for the call. And really not much of a protest from Whitey. He knew it. Smith takes a strike here, and the count 1-1. Another view now.
Well, Coleman with 14 14 bunt hits on the year, 44 infield hits. No doubt Herbeck playing up a couple of steps, because you have to do that with guys like Ozzie Smith and Vince Coleman. Otherwise, they're going to bunt, you'll get to the ball, and you won't be able to make that play.
Smith taking low, and the count 2-2.
Get a better angle right here as to whether Herbeck made the tag or not. Yeah, he tagged him.
And it's grounded to the left side and off Gagne's glove. It went by Gaetti, and then Gagne tried to backhand it, and he knew he had very little time, even had he come up with it, to get Ozzie Smith. And so Smith with a scratch single.
Well, such an outstanding year for Ozzie, 335 from the left side. Much better hitter, and you won't see from this angle. Gaetti just misses, as you do. Try to catch it, cut it off. Knows that's going to be an easy play. Gagne tries to short hop it. It's going to be a very tough play with Ozzie Smith's speed anyway, Tim.
Yeah, if Gary doesn't make that play, Gagne certainly can't make that play. If you're thinking about the Cardinals right now, you got to put the runners in motion right away. The Cardinals have waited back long enough. They haven't had that many opportunities, and you talk about making things happen, that old cliche. They got to do it right now.
So Ozzie Smith off to his lead at first base with 1 out. No score in the bottom of the first inning. Smith with 43 steals during the regular year. And he's already off to his standard-sized lead as the pitch is taken up and away by Tommy Herr, 1-0.
And that's exactly what it is. A lot of people think when they get that foot on the turf, that's a great lead. That is not the case. Any good runner in the National League on an artificial turf or the American League is going to be out on that turf.
Herbeck holding him on. Straker is prone to balk. He committed 5 during the regular year, and then 1, you might recall, the almost imperceptible one in the playoffs in Detroit. And 5 balks in the American League is a lot of balks.
It is, and I think one of the reasons that the controversy in Game 2 was right here in the first inning, similar situation, line drive base hit by Smith up the middle, and then Blyleven was not pausing as far as Whitey Herzog was concerned, as you see him doing a little groundwork. And what Whitey said was we couldn't run. He eventually went to second base on really moving Smith and a ground ball to shortstop, got him in position, but he could not run because Blyleven would not stop. Straker does pause.
Smith goes, good jump, and Herb pops it up in foul ground and back out of play. The other thing I'm wondering, Tim, I noticed that when Straker goes to first base, he throws more overhanded than almost any other pitcher.
Yeah, which means that it takes longer for the ball to get over there. The guys with the good move almost throw like catchers do. Ron Darling of the Mets, who throws right by the ear. You see the high leg kick. Ozzie Smith was 3.5 to 4 steps gone when Straker delivered the ball. I would like to add one thing. The length of the lead at first base does not always determine whether the base runner has a good jump or not. Maury Wills brought that into the game, having that one-way lead.
Up and away in the count, 2-1 on the switch hitting Herb.
I guess if Maury were playing now on predominantly artificial surface in the National League, Maury would get well onto the turf with both feet, but have the one-way lead coming back to first base and take a shorter lead when he was leaning towards second base. So possibly that's what Ozzie's doing.
Smith doesn't go, and it's grounded down to short, and Gagne goes to Lombardozzi and over to first for the double play. So he doesn't go after he went twice, and the Twins turn 2. No score after 1. That's a sight you'd never see at the Metrodome.
Got to come south for cooler weather, right?
I always thought that when you played in a dome, it was a controlled environment until we went to the Metrodome. And we saw 55,000 hysterical people. But then again, 10 runs and 8 runs will do it.
Temperature in the low to mid-40s.
I think you've touched on something too, Jim. I think the Cardinal fans, and judging from the city walking through it last night going to dinner, I think they more or less have a wait-and-see attitude. It's almost like the fans themselves are back on their heels.
I think you're 1,000% right as Gaetti takes outside. We were here a couple of years ago, by contrast, after the Cardinals were in Kansas City and had won games 1 and 2, and the city was alive and downtown filled with banners and music and the whole thing. And granted, the off day was a 75-degree sparkling day as Gaetti hits a fly ball to center field. McGee gets a late start but turns it into a routine catch. And Brunansky will be the batter. But coming in here yesterday, it was kind of a gray and drizzly day, and the whole day sort of was a reflection of the mood in a way.
Yeah, it really was.
And that's what 10-1 and 8-4 will do when you're on the short end, I suppose. However, it wouldn't take much to get this town turned on.
Right.
We've all seen it. Brunansky takes outside, ball 1-0.
They saw it so much of the year with over 3 million people coming out to see the Cardinals, and as we talked about in the first games, 62 and 31 at the All-Star break. Great first half.
And another great off-speed pitch by Tudor to make it 1-1.
Brunansky, very unusual in the way he initiates his swing. He holds his bat almost in a very stiff fashion. His hands are almost over the plate. You won't see any hitter from either side hold his bat like Brunansky holds his bat to start the swing.
Well, his weakness has always been really low and away, and you know, if you go to extremes inside, he has trouble. And maybe it's for plate coverage.
2-2. Mike Rourke with the pitch counter. One thing about Tudor, if he's on, he's not going to throw that many.
Oh, he was concerned, though. He was concerned about the cold weather. He said he was going to try hot stuff, analgesic bomb, maybe for the first time in his career tonight. And that's because of the fact he had to come back.
Off to a very positive start for the Cardinals with 5 in a row having been retired, and that's his first strikeout.
Well, the down and away changeup, and once you throw a fastball, what you do is you establish that pitch, and then what he does when you throw the changeup, he swings at the arm. Like you said, Tim, the ball, it's not really the speed of the ball, it's the motion of the arm, and you swing at it, you get out on your front foot, and you get a guy way out in front of the ball.
Herbeck hits it up the line, fielded by Tudor, and he gets him. And so Tudor starts by retiring the first 6. After 1.5, no score in St. Louis. Bottom of the second inning, no score. Dan Dreesen takes a strike in the count 0-1. Dreesen, McGee, and Ford in the bottom of the second. Dreesen drills it toward the gap in left center field, but Puckett gets a great start and makes the catch. Kirby read it perfectly, was off at the crack of the bat. He's got good speed and takes an extra base hit away from Dan Dreesen.
I'll tell you, deceptive speed. Puckett, as you said, Al, got a marvelous jump on this ball. He wasn't going full speed, but had controlled speed when he made the catch.
Well, considering where he started from, which was right center, and the reason he's playing over there, the double off the hefty bags and then a fly ball that he hit real well. He was swinging the bat very well, so they shifted him around where I think he's a left field hitter.
McGee, the batter, in the count 1-0.
It always seems to me he's bent, but that ball slicing away from Puckett, nice catch.
2-1 to McGee is over for a strike. Yeah, the heat is on tonight in the Cardinal dugout. In more ways than one, the heat is on for the Cardinals. Hits softly to left field, and that will drop in front of Gladden for a base hit. So Willie McGee is now 4 for 8 in the World Series, and it will bring up Curt Ford.
Talked about Tudor's changeup. Here's Les Straker's, and you could see how Willie McGee is fooled. Good pitch, bad result. But again, if you are not a line drive hitter like Willie McGee, and this is why this park is so perfect for him, you try to pull that ball, you get out on your front foot. He just kind of went with it. Not a good swing, but good result.
Now Curt Ford at the plate. Ford 2 for 3 thus far in the series. He was in the starting lineup in game 2. Pure left-handed batter. And we say pure because the Cardinals have so many switch hitters, and Ford comes out of that same mold. Quick, speedy, line drive type hitter, but a left-handed batter only. Ripped to center field, but right at Puckett, who makes the catch, and McGee can't go anywhere. So Ford hits a shot after McGee softly singles, and there are 2 down in the second inning, and Jose Oquendo comes to the plate.
It's funny how hitting is. Jim mentioned that Willie McGee hit a good pitch with a good result. He hit it poorly. Curt Ford just the opposite. A 2-0 fastball. He hits a rocket to center, but there's Kirby Puckett.
So Ford is back on the bench, talking it over with Tom Pagnozzi, and here is Oquendo with 2 out and another pitch out, and again the Twins pitch out and McGee not going.
If you watch the playoffs, you heard so much about the Giants pitching out, taking the Cardinals out of the running game. A pitch out is only effective if you do it right. Willie McGee saw right there that Les Straker was pitching out. He broke, saw that it wasn't a normal windup, went back to first base. So what you do is you put Oquendo in a good hitting position. It's 1-0. Straker has to come to him. You got to pitch out, and you have to work on it in spring training.
There he goes, and there was no pitch, though. Time had been called. And a balk was called, which was the reason that Kosk had his hands in the air. And we mentioned Straker 5 balks, which is the equivalent of about 10 in the National League, the way they're called.
And you got to go back to Whitey Herzog. Maybe he implanted in the umpire's mind not only Bert Blyleven, but that Les Straker, I'm sure Whitey did his homework tonight. The only pitcher who had more balks in the American League was Charlie Huff with the Texas Rangers. He had 9. And clearly, Straker didn't come to a stop, but neither did Blyleven the other night. So maybe Herzog, in talking to the umpires, see, that's stopping about like Blyleven did the other night.
Actually, a little longer.
Maybe?
Yes.
Maybe? You got to come to a full second stop. Now, he didn't do that, but not too many pitchers do that.
I don't want to disagree with you, but I said you had to come to a second stop, and a guy wrote me and said the rule book says you have to come to a pause. It doesn't have to be a second. Apparently, it just has, you have to stop. He really stopped a lot longer than Blyleven did, but then again, in a close game, you're going to have more balks called. 8-1, let's play the game.
Well, a pause and a second, that's about the same.
I got the letter, you didn't.
2 out, 1-0 the count on Oquendo now. The pitch a strike, and it was Kaiser calling the balk at second base. And before the game, we showed you on tape Herzog going over the balk rule. And Whitey, we were in his office before the game, and he had the rule book out, and he's reading it, and he says, "What does this say? What does this say? Why don't they call it?" 2-1. He says a complete stop. What does a complete stop mean?
Interpretation of the umpire.
Exactly.
So what was, well, you know, when you have an off day, sometimes your eyesight gets better. That's what happened with Kenny Kaiser. What's a balk the other night? Or what wasn't a balk is a balk tonight.
3-1.
And also, I think an older pitcher like Blyleven, a more successful pitcher with 244 major league wins, is going to get the edge over a rookie pitcher, Les Straker, who was 8-10 this year.
Absolutely. Much as somebody who walks a lot, a veteran with a good eye at the plate is going to get the edge on borderline pitches. And Oquendo draws the walk. With first base open anyway, Straker could afford to be careful with Oquendo because the right-hand batting Pena, who had just 214 during the regular season, comes to the plate. And Dick Such, the Minnesota pitching coach, will visit the mound.
It'll be an interesting scenario in the 5th game. You'll have Kaiser behind the plate and a National League umpire at third base if Blyleven pitches. In other words, if the Cardinals win tonight, they're saying that the next rotation will be Viola tomorrow, and then on Thursday, Blyleven.
I think umpires are less inclined to call balks once they call the first one. I think it's almost like a slap on the hands. They're going to appease Whitey by calling the balk. All right, we've called one. I think Straker can do the same thing with anybody else on base, and I don't think they're going to call another balk.
Real good point.
I guess we'll find out, though. The thing is, you don't know if you're pitching. So it's more prone to make you stop a little bit and give the Cardinal runners an advantage.
Pena, 2 on, 2 out. 1-0. Crowd booing. That pitch not as close as it might look from the upper deck.
It's normally a pitch he's been swinging at the last 2 games. Hard to tell from that angle, but the ball was just off the plate right there. It runs in a little bit. Obviously high, what, about 2 inches inside? It's right in his zone.
2-0 the count.
I'll tell you, the Minnesota outfield is playing Pena straight away, and as hard as Straker is throwing, and with Tony really, when he gets a fastball, the only fastball he's going to pull is the ball down and in. I think the outfield ought to be shaded toward right field because I think the chances of him hitting the right are great.
Taking here, 2-1. Tom Kelly. Overnight superstar.
That's why he didn't go to the racetrack last night.
Yeah.
He knows he's going to get recognized.
He goes to the right side, but on the ground, and to Lombardozzi to Herbeck. And the Cardinals squander a threat in the 2nd. We go to the 3rd inning. No score. The view from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise looking down into Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis. The Goodyear Blimp coming up from Pompano Beach, Florida, and circling this ballpark on a very chilly night as we go to the third inning with no score. Tim Laudner, and going back to game 2 the other night, it was Tim Laudner who at 191 during the regular season, putting the finishing touches on a Minnesota victory as McGee went back in the 6th inning and watched it sail out. And that was Minnesota's 8th run en route to an 8-4 game 2 victory. And Laudner rips it into center, so Kelly plays the hot hand, and it pays off in the 3rd inning with the Twins' first hit. And Laudner is now 4 for 7 in the World Series, and Lombardozzi comes to the plate.
Well, that's what Tony. It's Burke keeping some charts. No doubt, most likely where they're hitting the ball, or it didn't look like a pitching chart. But when Tony Gwynn talked about John Tudor being wild high, it wasn't wild high, but he did get the ball up, and Laudner just spanked it into center field. Not a good pitch with 2 strikes.
Lombardozzi looks in the strike, 0-1. Rick Rennick sending down the signs from third. Another thing that Kelly's got to take into consideration here is Lombo's the number 8 hitter, and the pitcher is on deck. And that's something that doesn't happen in an American League game.
That's why he's not bunting.
Right. Popped up in foul ground, and Pena comes over to the dugout and can't make the catch. And that's one of the problems here in St. Louis with those steep and very narrow dugout steps. Even though he was coming over toward friendly territory, that has to come into your mind.
Tony had the steps gauged correctly, but not the ball. He did kind of look down away from the ball, and the ball actually went between his glove and his chest.
Well, I asked the groundskeeper why they did not put a tartan track warning track like they have around the outfield behind home plate, and he said it because of football. But there's so many artificial turf stadiums, you think they could do a zipper thing where they could protect some of their, not only some of the guys sitting on the bench like John Tudor, but some of, as we saw in '85 when Brett went right into the dugout here.
If nothing else, at least to let you know there's a difference, so you can feel it with your feet. That
well,
you're
see,
on
they
the
say
track.
that the groundskeeper said it gets slippery, and you can see that, as you said in the opening, you can see the moisture that collects under the tarp sometimes here.
Called strike 3. So Lombardozzi goes down on strikes. Tudor has his 2nd strikeout, and Les Straker will be coming to the plate. Here it was, that play in April against the Mets, the little pop-up off Jack Clark's bat. Barry Lyons went over, and into the dugout he went. And the next thing you know, John Tudor is back in the clubhouse at the hospital and on the DL for 3 months. Straker now at the plate. Straker has a lot of experience with the bat in the minors, bunts foul, 0-1. The reason is Straker was signed by the Reds. He spent 7 years in their minor league system, and even though most of the minor leagues went to the DH in the 70s, the Reds at that time, because of Bob Howsam, insisted that their minor league pitchers hit, because when they got up to Cincinnati, they'd have to hit. And thus Straker did have a lot of hitting experience in the minors before he was dealt out of the Reds organization. He has not hit, though, in the majors. 0-2, as you can tell. He misses the sign and the ball and everything else, and down he goes.
That's another thing that you don't think about. Not only is the bunt in order, and a pitcher who's not used to hitting has to put the ball down, but getting the sign can be something different and unusual. I mean, he hasn't received the bunt sign in the major leagues either. So I think he missed it on the 0-1 count, and Rick Rennick, the third base coach, went back to it 0-2, and it's a strikeout for Tudor, his 3rd.
Well, as a former pitcher, that happens a lot. You do miss the sign, so they just yell, bunt. It's rather obvious, but everybody knows what he was going to be doing. You know,
everybody but Les on that 2nd pitch.
Line to left field for a base hit. Laudner will stop at 2nd. And for the Twins, their 2nd hit, and they have 2 on with 2 out, and Greg Gagne coming up. And that's 4 hits in the World Series for Dan Gladden.
And once again, a high changeup, and as we said, and as Tony Gwynn said, he's a control pitcher. You can see he's out in front of it. In other words, he did fool him a little bit, but because the ball was up, he was able to get the bat on it. The ball is down, it's most likely either a strikeout or a little ground ball.
to center field, and Willie McGee is right there. And the Twins race the threat, leaving 2 in the third. At the end of 2.5, no score in Game 3. From center field, way out yonder.
Busch Gardens.
Yeah. Looking in toward home plate with John Tudor to come up for the Cardinals. Game 3 in St. Louis. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Twins leading 2-0. No score here with John Tudor to lead off in the bottom of the third. Tudor, lifetime, hitting 170, has never hit a home run. 0-2. And Tudor goes down on strikes, and with 1 out, Vince Coleman coming to the plate and talking about the importance of getting the Cardinal running game going.
Well, that's true. You know, I tend to, I take that in a phase to say that, if I'm locked up in a room one-on-one, that I'll come out on top. And I like to, go into every game to think that it's always a challenge, that I have to get on base. I feel if I do get on base 4 or 5 times, steal 3 or 4 bases, score 4 or 5 runs, then we're going to win ball games.
And the man they call Vincent Van Gogh has been Vincent Van No, because he hasn't been getting on in the World Series. 1 for 9, and he was certainly stymied by the Giants in terms of stealing bases in the playoffs.
Well, Tim and I were talking yesterday from a pitcher-catcher standpoint, and the difference between Coleman and a normal runner, really, that's something you can relate to, Al, is like,
as he grounds it to short, and there's Gagne backhanding and then throwing it away, bouncing off the auxiliary box and right back to Herbeck. So 1 base.
And to finish that thought is really that it's something you can relate to. Is the difference between when you travel by air going commercial or charter. You can go anytime you want to.
And Vince Coleman certainly can go anytime he wants to once he gets there. But look what he causes before he gets there. He causes the bad throw by Gagne, that in-between hop. And Coleman's on first, and you can look for him to run.
So he only gets first base because the ball caromed back and was always in play. There he goes. Smith takes a strike, and the throw is backed up after Vince steals second.
I have always contended that a hitter who puts the bat intentionally in front of the catcher is interfering with the catcher. There was no intent right there, and that, of course, is the judgment of the umpire. There's no intent whatsoever by Ozzie Smith but to block Loudner out of the play. It's perfectly legal, and nobody ever calls it. You never see it called. But Ozzie, no intention to bunt. He put the bat head in front of the catcher, and Loudner couldn't get out there and get a good jump to make a good throw.
So Coleman at second, Vince reaching on what was scored an error by Gagne, stealing second, and the 0-1 to Smith, missing 1-1.
Out of those 109 stolen bases, he attempted to steal third 27 times and was successful 22. So one of the few Cardinals that, not that can steal because they all can run, but will steal third base.
Two and 1. So the Cardinals getting a break on an error. Tom Kelly watching his club commit its first error of the World Series, only its 4th in postseason. And we mentioned when we began the World Series, the Twins outscored and out-hit and out-homered and the rest. But the one thing, they had the best defense in the majors this year, only 98 errors. Herbeck gathers this one in, and advancing to third is Coleman. But there are 2 down. So Vince at third base with 2 gone in the third inning, and Tommy Herr, who hit into a double play, comes up.
And if you're wondering if he steals home, well, not this year. 2 attempts, he's thrown out both times.
But if you remember, when Straker was pitching against the Tigers, he balked with a runner at third base. His first postseason balk. He's balked once tonight. So maybe Coleman will give him something to think about at third base, even though he'll be working from the stretch.
And tough again here as Lombardozzi throws him out. They leave Coleman in third. We'll go to the fourth, the faithful fourth. No score.
Now you can enjoy all the memories of the 1987 World Series with a copy of the official World Series program. With more than 90 pages of facts and figures, it's a real collector's item. To order your souvenir program, just send check or money order for $6 to World Series Program, Post Office Box 87, Trenton, New Jersey 08651. That's Box 87, Trenton, New Jersey 08651. Please include your proper return address.
The preceding was furnished by Major League Baseball.
This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Fourth inning with no score. Well, the 1964 Cardinals, a well-worn button. Tim McCarver would know all about that.
Great ball club. Kenny Boyer at third. Kenny was the MVP that year. Bob Gibson, of course, Ray Sadecki, Kurt Simmons, Dick Grote, Julian Javier.
And here it is 23 years later, and the Cardinals down 2 games to nothing as they face the Twins in the fourth. Now, the Twins in this series have already scored 13 runs in the fourth inning of the 2 games. What's interesting is that is the record for most runs by one team in one inning. As you can see, there are 7 teams that share it. The fascinating thing is the Twins have done it in 2 games. That's total runs in 1 inning in the total series. So Minnesota was 7 in the 4th inning of game 1 and 6 in the 4th inning of game 2 to effectively end all of the office pools summarily. Puckett loops one to Tommy Herr. So Kirby is gone here in the 4th. And it will bring up Gary Gaetti, who flied out in the 2nd inning.
Well, they asked Whitey after the first 2 games, what do you think we should do to make this series fair? He said, take the roof off and don't let them bat in the 4th.
The other night, Gladden's grand slam punctuated the 4th inning in game 1 as Gaetti fouls it back. And then in game 2's 4th inning ended with an out. Gagne grounded out. And then Minnesota still went on to score 6. 1 ball, 1 strike to count.
Gaetti from Centralia, Illinois, and a big Cardinal fan growing up. Used to come to Busch Stadium a lot.
He said last night, Tim, that he grew up dreaming about playing in the World Series at Busch Stadium, but in a different uniform.
Uh-huh.
The bat winds up near Ozzie. 2-2.
Well, you just know if you're a hitter 2-1, you're going to get a pretty good pitch to hit a fastball. And then what does Tudor do? Pulls the string, throws the changeup. Right there, looking fastball, gets the bat head out all the way to shortstop. Dr. Crank.
Something we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, Jim, in the Detroit-Toronto game at the end of the season. And, you know, I think youngsters in baseball grow up throwing the curveball ahead in the count and the fastball when they're behind.
And there's the fastball with the count even, and he gets him, and he fooled him.
And that's what that 2-1 changeup did. It set up the fastball on the inside corner.
And watch Pena, and watch the ball. And Gaetti thinks it's a ball, but it isn't. See you later.
Brunansky with 2 out of the bases empty. Strike.
You start thinking that that's the proper way to do it, but Little League pitchers can't get the breaking ball over. That's why they wait until they get ahead. Well, with that mindset, you'll find out later that it's the other way around. That you should throw fastballs when you're ahead in the count, and breaking balls are off-speed stuff when you're behind, behind in the count. 2-1, 2-0, a 3-1, if you can get it over. And with that idea and that mentality, then you go about trying to get it over, and that's what John Tudor's done so well. Crowd
sensing the Cardinals getting out of the 4th. waving their towels in the count 1-2. In the air to left field to Coleman. Extra, read all about it, stop the presses. Minnesota doesn't score in the fourth. Into 3.5, 0-0. Here comes Jim Palmer's audition now as a pitching coach. What is Tudor doing?
Well, Tudor's throwing his changeup with 3 fingers, as Tim talked about earlier, and it's the middle 3 fingers. And what he does, he just kind of course, he does it left-handed. He just kind of turns the ball over. Frank Viola, also left-handed. What he does, he makes a circle and holds the ball with his last 3 fingers. I'll do it right-handed because I'm not ambidextrous. And then he just turns the ball over. Very simple, very effective, and it worked for Viola, and it's working for both Straker and Tudor tonight.
Straker starts the bottom of the fourth with the fundamental fastball for a strike to Dan Dreesen in the count 0-1. Dreesen, McGee, and Ford, no score. In the air to left field, Dan Gladden is right there. 1 away, so Dreesen has flied out twice, 1 gone. Cardinals have been limited to 2 hits, a scratch single by Smith and a looping single by McGee, and up comes Willie.
Well, the key to Les Straker so far is that he has gotten the first batter in each inning. Only 1 walk, so the things that really cost him 5 runs and 4 walks, 3 hits in the playoffs against Detroit have not really been evident tonight. Again, a lot easier to pitch here at Busch Stadium than in Tiger Stadium against a team that had 225 home runs, led the major leagues in that category for the year.
1-1 on Willie McGee. Les Straker out of Venezuela. Fascinating story. Pitched in the minor leagues for 10 years. Thought about quitting from time to time. His wife told him to just stick with it, hang in there. And at the age of 28, he's a rookie. McGee hits one deep to right and down the line into the corner and off the wall. Played perfectly by Bernansky. McGee has a double.
There are almost no left-handed hitters who can handle the ball down and in. A slider to Willie McGee down and in, and the theory is all you have to do is drop your bat head. You really don't have to generate any bat speed to hit that pitch, and that's why it's the most dangerous pitch from a right-handed pitcher to a left-handed hitter.
McGee having a good World Series is 5 for 9. And Kurt Ford, who lined out to center in the 2nd inning. Ford hit it sharply, but for an out. 0-1, that one bouncing into the commissioner's box. In the air to right field, deep. Bernansky going back all the way into the corner and into foul ground, and it's foul. Kept on hooking and goes foul. 0-2.
Well, only 3 home runs on the year, but everybody talked about as you look at the ball just hooking and hooking. At the last moment, it goes foul. Ford broke his hand in June, went on the DL all the way in August. The bone chip wasn't evident or showed up in the X-rays. But they all talked. A very little guy, about 160 pounds, but he has good bat speed. He can turn on the ball inside. That looked like another high-breaking ball. Instead of down and in, it was up and in, and he just got that extension you talked about, and that's why the ball went foul.
Straker ahead now, 0-2. And the count remains 0-2 with 1 out, and McGee at second, no score in the bottom of the 4th inning. And down he goes on strikes.
Well, that's that changeup we were talking about. It's not the circle change, but it's just a 3-finger changeup that he turns over a little bit and runs away from left-handed hitters, into right-handers, away from left. Look at, just run away. Very close to being a ball, but also very close to being a strike. And most managers will tell you it's close enough to call, you better swing.
That's right.
Oquendo now looks at a strike. Keith Hernandez, who winds up at the World Series. Didn't want to do it in a suit, and Ted Sizemore, longtime Cardinal and Dodgers second baseman, is with him. 1-1.
Teddy, the Rookie of the Year for the Dodgers back in 1969.
And hitting behind Brock here in '74 when Lou stole 118 bases to set, at that time, the record.
Didn't see too many fastballs that year, did he?
No. Got a few take signs that year, too, though, didn't he?
That was 1974 when Lou broke the record, 118 stolen bases. Since surpassed, of course, by Ricky Henderson, who had 130 back in 1982.
And he hits it in the air to center field, but a lot of room out there for Puckett, and down go the Cardinals in the fourth as they strand McGee. To the fifth we go with no score, and we'll be back with Game 3 of the 1987 World Series after this word from your local station.
Success Stories, brought to you by Citicorp.
Some pitchers in a World Series might have been content with yielding the burden of responsibility to 31-game winner Danny McClain. But it was the Detroit Tigers' Mickey Lolich who stepped to center stage in the '68 series. McClain won once, but it was Lolich who hurled 3 complete game victories, including a 4-1 win over Bob Gibson and the Cardinals in the 7th game. Lolich didn't merely survive in his more famous teammate shadow, he succeeded in becoming the World Series hero.
Busch Stadium in St. Louis. No score. And the Twins keeping warm on this chilly night, or keeping the equipment warm anyway. Reminds me of when Bobby Mercer used to play with the Giants at Candlestick Park. He would take his bats to the sauna between innings to keep them warm.
Well, in the hotter days in the summertime here, All-Star game been played in 1966. Seen guys step into ice water, get so hot here.
But on this 20th night of October, keeping those gloves hot, and well, the Twins should, because they led the majors in fielding this year. Kent Herbeck, 2 quick strikes, and the count 0-2. Will be followed by Laudner and Lombardozzi, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the Minnesota order with no score. The commissioner in his box behind first base. He's very lucky we didn't take a shot at him before when he futilely attempted to field that ground ball off the bat of Willie McGee.
Well, that's why he's the commissioner.
Yes. Herbeck fouling it away.
John Tudor talked about the fact that you face 8 right-handers in the lineup and only 1 lefty. Said sometimes that messes up your control. And again, as we said, the curveball's only 2 left-handers. There's one for strike 3. Not sure if it was a strike, but Greg Koss called it that.
It looked high to me, Jim. I think you're right. That is the commissioner feeling that,
or failing to feel it.
Failing to field it. To field it. Get his gloves warm, though.
Yeah.
And then Herbeck goes down on the next pitch, and the Twins begin the 5th inning. The victim of a 5th John Tudor strikeout as Laudner comes to the plate. 1-0 the count. Line drive into the corner. And Ford will play the carom. Laudner is on his way to second, and Laudner is now 5 for 8 in the World Series after a regular season, batting 191. And you'll recall the sign in Minnesota the other night, the Buck 90 fan club.
Well, driving the ball away, we saw him take a ball really in the middle of the plate, homer over the center field fence. So he's the type of guy with 42 home runs in the minor leagues, 16, 1 more in the World Series, that can hit the ball the other way and drive it, just as you saw. He's not a guy that has to go up there and pull the ball to hit the ball out of the ballpark, which is going to make him a better hitter, and it certainly has in postseason play. Well, of course, he was 1 for 14 in the playoffs.
Lombardozzi struck out in the 3rd. To the left side, and Smith looked at 3rd and winds up going to 1st. And from up here, perhaps Oquendo a little late in getting over to 3rd, but it appeared Ozzie would have had a shot at it.
I think also, if Ozzie's not a dummy, he knows Straker's coming up.
Right.
He also knows Laudner's in the base path. See him come in. He always, as Tim said in the first game, he's on the move, and you can see directly between third and Ozzie is Laudner. So why take a chance? Especially when you've seen Straker try to swing the first time up.
It's like trying to see somebody over a redwood with Laudner and Oquendo. He's about 6 to 8 inches taller than Jose. So rather than take the chance, they'll take the chance with Straker hitting him 2 outs.
And we'll see how it turns out as Straker grounds it foul.
Kamish had another shot at it.
All right. They got him zeroed in tonight.
I'm sure that Peter Ueberroth would say you learn from your mistakes. If you fail once,
don't try it again.
Got that right.
That is not out of, that last swing was not out of the Rod Carew hitting video. And the count is 0-2. Not even close. 6 strikeouts for Tudor, who's been brilliant through 5, and there's no score at the end of 4½. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. And by the way, that is the name. It was originally Busch Stadium, then they changed it to Busch Memorial Stadium for a while, and it's back to Busch and has been for the last 2 or 3 years. Busch Stadium. Danny Cox, along with Jack Clark, enjoying a lighter moment in the Cardinal dugout. You can afford to be laughing. They got through the 4th inning alive. And the 5th as well, as the Twins went down in the top of the 5th, and now in the bottom of the 5th inning, it's Pena leading off. Pena, Tudor, and Coleman against Les Straker, the rookie with 10 years of minor league experience. And he starts Pena with a pitch high, ball 1.
Now you talk about diligence. Les Straker, not only with 10 years of minor league experience, but he played in a different city every year in the minor leagues. This is his 11th different city.
Knee surgery back in '83, was going to make the club in '86 and hurt his hip, which at the end of spring training. Rib injury also, and had to spend another year in the minor leagues. So to have him here, and remember, he's only averaged about 5 1/3 innings per start for the entire season.
Actually, he did repeat 1 year. He was in Waterbury 2 years, '81 and '83. So this is his 10th different city. And he had a complete year every year.
Tom Kelly with Dick Such, the pitching coach. Such is a guy who knows a lot about minor league pitching as well, as Pena takes up high and draws the walk. So Tony is on, and now John Tudor comes up, and the Cardinals, for the first time tonight, get the leadoff man on. In game 1, the Cardinals just once got the leadoff man on, and in game 2, just twice. So in the 23rd inning of the World Series, it's only the 4th time that St. Louis has gotten the leadoff man on.
And obviously more meaningful in this game because in the other games, 8-1 deficit at one point in the second game, 10-1 in the other one.
Tudor lays down the bunt foul.
This is Cardinal baseball, and as we've said all along, if their pitching keeps them in the game, then they can utilize one of their offensive abilities, which is to run. Here it's going to be a bunt, but then you have Coleman up, if he probably a better hitter.
Yeah, not only a bunt, but you can't bunt the ball down the third baseline. Gaetti closing in, Herbeck holding the runner at first.
0-2.
That's why Tudor elected initially to bunt the ball down the first baseline to make Herbeck feel the ball. But that's a much more difficult bunt. You've really got to extend your hands to bunt the ball down the first baseline. There's Herbeck holding Pena close.
Coleman is on deck. And Tudor bunts foul, and is he angry with himself? So he can't do the job. That's as much emotion as you'll see on the field from John Tudor.
High breaking ball. As Timmy said, he's trying to bunt the ball down the first baseline, and what you have to do is bunt the ball out in front of home plate. Had the bat behind home plate. One is able to do it, and you can see his disgust.
Boy, I tell you, he is normally the most implacable of Cardinals. Even when he gets lit up and he's on the mound, if he'll give up a grand slam home run, you won't see a reaction like that from him. Angry because he couldn't get the man over, throw to first base. When he gets angry, though, he really gets angry. You'll recall in the 7th game in '85 in Kansas City when he got lit up and came out of the game is when he had that little tussle with the electric fan in the dugout, which required a couple of stitches that night. Oh, 1.
An excellent speed for a catcher. One of the reasons that Whitey Herzog wanted Tony Pena. Number one, he can throw. He's had a lifetime batting average around 280, but also he is a catcher you don't have to pinch run for.
That's right.
So with a 24-man roster, you're not wasting a player sometimes because you have a slow-footed catcher. No offense, Tim, even though I know you led the National League in triples. Right here in this ballpark?
Well, it wasn't recently, we'll put it that way.
Well, they
was
definitely
66.
Definitely pinch run for you now, but I mean, how about back then?
They'd pinch a lot of things for me now. But Pena did have 6 stolen bases in 7 tries and holds the Pittsburgh Pirate record for stolen bases by a catcher with 12. John Wathan, as a matter of fact, the Kansas City Royals manager, who's in the ballpark tonight, holds the major league record for stolen bases by a catcher.
And Coleman goes down on strikes. So Straker, after getting Tudor, picks up another strikeout, and that's number 4 for him. 2 down.
Well, Les talked about his problem that in the playoffs he was trying to be too fine, but he is perfect right there, right on the corner. Good fastball, as we told you, 91 miles per hour, and he has 2 other pitches.
So 2 down, Ozzie Smith now. Smith is 1 for 2, a soft scratch single in the first. And again, we talked about the top of that Cardinal order, the top 3, and they are a collective 1 for 7 tonight. Pena goes, and Smith wraps it foul, 0-1.
Tell you, right before the pitch, you saw Tim Loudner looking over to the dugout. He's doing it again to see if they wanted him to pitch out, and Pena, sure enough, was running on that first pitch. Of course, if you watch the National League Championship Series, you saw giant catchers, Bob Brenly and Bob Melvin, do that quite often. Roger Craig calling a bunch of pitch outs.
And Ozzie hits it weakly on the ground to second, and Lombardozzi throws him out. And the Cardinals finish in the 5th, into 5, no score. And so we go to the 6th inning. Al Michaels along with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver. Game 3 of the World Series. No score in the top of the 6th inning. And the man with his back to you.
Familiar face in St. Louis.
Yep.
Red, pardon me, Al. Red, the longest tenure as a manager with the Cardinals, 12 years as the manager of St. Louis from 1965 to 76.
Now a coach under Whitey Herzog and a guy who knows a lot about cashing postseason checks.
This is, as a matter of fact, this is his 9th World Series, and he is 6-3 in World Series play. And the 3 losing positions that he was on as a player, a coach, and a manager was 1958, 68, and 85. When the Braves were in it in 58, he had a 3-1 lead over the Yankees. The Yankees came back to beat them. In 1968, he was the manager, played on that ball club. We were up 3-1 against the Tigers, and they came back.
Gladden squibs it. Back to Tudor. And the leadoff man is gone, 1 down in the 6th inning.
And then in 1985, Red was a coach with the Cardinals, and the Kansas City Royals came back from a 3-1 deficit.
The winning share, by the way, in the World Series this year should be close to $90,000, and the losing share probably in the high 60s, close to $70,000, as Greg Gagne comes to the plate. We talked about Wayne Terwilliger, the first base coach, the other night. And Wayne Terwilliger right there in the box at first. We'll see his salary just about double with a winning share. And Tom Kelly will see his salary just about equal. Strike. Kelly signed. The other day I asked him, I said, hey, look, don't tell me what you made this year. I said, but is it close to your full salary if you win the series? He said, hey, I made $100,000. I think he would be the lowest paid manager in the big leagues in 1987. 1-1. He did, though, get a raise and a new one-year deal, but just one. So he is signed through 1988. You would hope. 2-1.
You know, he's over there yelling encouragement. It's really the first time I've seen him yell encouragement during this series. And I guess the reason, Jim, is because the Twins have jumped out to such big leads that he has just sat back and let things take care of themselves.
Especially the first 2 games. The only thing he had to do after the 4th was yell, hold him. They really put those games away.
He's more animated, it appears, in this game than the first 2.
Hey, here we go, Greg!
Youngest in the series. Interestingly, Sparky Anderson was a rookie manager in 1970 when he took the Reds in against Baltimore. And Gagne walks, so Greg goes to first base with 1 away here in the 6th inning. And Kirby Puckett.
First walk for John Tudor, and goes back to what he mentioned earlier in the game, that his arm may stiffen. He went to the analgesic bomb, and here we are in the 6th inning. And the one difference I've seen in his stats, it's not a whole lot. He averaged 3 walks a game. He said his walks were a little bit up from the last 2 years.
Gagne at first base does a little bit of running. 6 steals during the regular season. He was also caught 6 times.
As we said, Tudor with an excellent move. Last year, 11 pickoffs. This year, 5. So you don't get a good jump. I guess that tells the story right there. You might get a jump, but it's not going to be a good one.
So if you're caught in between as a manager and you're reluctant to run against a pitcher and a catcher combination, the alternative, if you want to put the runner in motion, is the hit and run. Puckett, a contact hitter. And interestingly, Tudor has been pitching Kirby inside. We'll see where they go this time. They're still going inside. You can see Pena try to sneak inside with that left foot to give the inside target.
Gagne getting back. You wonder if Puckett saw Pena as the throw went to first base move inside.
So they changed it.
Yeah, changed the pattern.
The one thing you do not want to do as a catcher is set up too early, because hitters will peak.
Of course, there are remedies for that.
Oh, yes.
I once told a hitter, and I can't believe I said it, that if he kept, because Rick Dempsey came out and said he's looking back where I'm moving. And I said, if you do, so I walked off the mound and said, if you do it again, I'm going to hit you in the side of the head. And I didn't mean it. But I'll tell you what, he took the next pitch right down the middle for strike 3. So I guess it worked.
We were told, as catchers in the minor leagues coming up, if you think a hitter is peeking back there, talk to him and tell him you know that. And if you let him know, I know exactly what you're saying, because if you let him know you know that, that should be enough.
I know you know, and you better know I know you know.
That's right.
2-0 the count. And 3-0. So all of a sudden, Tudor with perfect control walks Gagne and goes 3-0 on Puckett. And he loses him, so Puckett goes to first base. The Twins have runners at first and second with 1 out, and Gary Gaetti coming up.
Third baseman, Gary Gaetti.
Gaetti is 0 for 2 tonight, but 4 for 10 in the World Series. And he pops it up in foul territory. Pena coming all the way to the lip of the dugout, and he makes the catch. And it's still in play, so down to third alertly goes Gagne, but what a catch by Pena. And you're really taking your life into your hands when you go to the edge of the dugout at Busch Stadium. Just ask George Brett from 2 years ago.
Unless, of course, it's your dugout, because you know you have some allies over there who are going to catch you once you make the catch. And that's what happened. Tony's teammates
but really a superb play by Gagne, taking nothing for granted, tagging up and moving to third base. We'll see how important a play that is with Brunansky hitting now.
That is just a great, great play. And you can see where Pena still went into the dugout even with the help, but knew exactly where the steps were. 1-0 the count. And again, those steps here are so steep with Gagne at third and Puckett at first. They're steep and they're very narrow. If you have about a size 10 foot, you've got a sidestepping. Broken bat, looper to right center, base hit. And that scores Gagne. And moving to third is Puckett. So they break Brunansky's bat, does Tudor, and he comes through with a base hit to make it 1-0.
Well, a lot of people would think that would be lucky hitting, but if Brunansky's not protecting the outside part of the plate, he doesn't get the end of the bat on that ball. He is so strong, and he is helped by the right fielder, Kurt Ford, playing deep. A light-hitting hitter wouldn't get a hit like that because the right fielder would be in. But with Brunansky, you've got to respect his power, and he drops one in front of Ford.
Herbeck now takes inside. 1-0. 1-0 Minnesota with 2 out and 2 on in the 6th inning. There he goes again, and it's grounded to the left side, and Smith has to backtrack, throw, and get him. Ozzie that time was going towards second, and only Smith can go back that quickly and make it look routine. 1-0 Twins.
We mentioned when Brunansky ran on the pitch before that Smith wasn't covering, and Ozzie was playing the wait-and-see game. Had he not played that game, that ball is into left field, and the Twins are leading 2-0 with the inning still alive. So a fine, fine play by Ozzie Smith. And as you said, Al, only he can go towards second 2 steps and come back 4 and make a play like that.
And it saves a run. Minnesota still taking the lead 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. It'll be Hurd, Dreesen, and McGee, the 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Straker, meanwhile, has done all that Tom Kelly can ask, because now he's to the point, is Kelly, where he can go to his bullpen, where he's got Schaxter and Berenguer to set up Reardon, if need be. 1-0 the count. And in the bullpen, Berenguer and Schaxter, as if on cue. Straker, well rested, but he's to the point right now where he might be too well rested. Another strike. Straker over the past 3 weeks had faced about 20 batters.
Well, but also one of the unusual things he does, when he has good games, he writes things on his gloves. Now, when he has bad games, he doesn't do that. I said, why do it? He said, I'll remember it, but I don't want to read about it.
Send himself a lot of messages tonight. Meanwhile, lowest batting average. Take a look at this. Marv Owen, Dal Maxfield, now the Cardinal general manager, 115. Tommy Hurd, those with at least 40 at-bats all time. Douthit was a former Cardinal, hit 140. 2-1 pitch is 3-1. And Ozzie Smith is close to being on that list and might have been on it had he not gone 1 for 3 thus far tonight. So it shows you that the Cardinals are having a lot of problems generating anything offensively, not only tonight, but in the 85 World Series as well. And some of them even had problems in 82, though they did beat Milwaukee. Strike, 3-2. And he rips it into center field for a base hit. Cardinals, for the 2nd inning in a row, get the leadoff man on. They've threatened tonight. They've stranded 5. And they get the leadoff man on with Dan Dreesen coming to the plate.
Well, 3-2, you know you're going to get a good pitch, and he does. Down. Tim talked about how it's an easier pitch where all you have to do is drop the bat, and that's what he did. Hit it right back up the middle where it was pitched.
In there, off speed, strike, 0-1. Her at first, held by Herbeck. Tommy goes, and Dreesen taps it slowly to Gagne, and over to Herbeck for the out. So the Cardinals at least able to stay out of the force. And a slight chance of a double play. The ball hit very slowly, but they are able to get the tying run to second, and McGee is the batter. Willie with a single and a double, and he's 5 for 9 in the World Series.
Tommy Herr has the best percentage of stolen bases on the Cardinal Ball Club. He did last year too, and that's why he took off.
And it's hit toward the middle, but Gagne is there and throws him out, and Herr has to stay at second. So with Herr, the runner at second, Gagne over toward the bag, and able to plug up the middle and take care of McGee, 2 down.
Well, so much of pitching is defense, not making the plays, which Gagne does here, as much as sometimes where you play. Right up the middle, that's where McGee hits the ball. Only 11 home runs, right around 286 on the year, but he's hit the ball 3 times hard, 2 for base hits, and the 3rd time they played him perfectly.
Ford, 0 for 2. Fly ball to center to Puckett. And the Cardinals waste yet another opportunity. We'll go to the 7th. 1-0 Twins in Game 3. We'll be back after this from your local station.
IBM presents You Make the Call. A batter hits a fly ball to deep right field, which first bounces off the fence. The ball then hits the fielder on the head and goes over the fence without hitting the ground. Is it a home run? You make the call. Because the ball hit the fence first and then the fielder's head before going over, it's a ground rule double, not a home run. If you said so, then you made the right call.
Goodyear Blimp, piloted by Dick Esch tonight, high above Busch Stadium in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, not far from the Mississippi River. This, in some quarters, known as we mentioned, the Linen Closet Series, the M&M Series for Missouri and Minnesota, and the Mississippi River Series. 1-0 Minnesota, 7th inning, and Laudner swings and misses, the count 0-1. Laudner, Lombardozzi, and Straker, and Tim Laudner, one of the silent ones during the regular year. A big force thus far in postseason, especially here in the World Series. Now 5 for 8, a single and a double tonight. 0-2 the count. And down he goes on strikes on 3 pitches, and questions that call by Greg Kosk.
Pitch doesn't always have to be a strike. Again, we said the ball looks inside, but Pena's sitting there, gave him the target there. And sometimes you fool the umpire. And you can see Tim just say, it wasn't a strike. Most likely saying, well, emphatically saying, I want that pitch when I'm catching.
Lombardozzi now takes outside, ball 1. Now with Straker due up, there's Gene Larkin out on deck. So Kelly got exactly what he wanted. He got 6 innings, and he figures that's it. I'm going to go to my bullpen. Fouled away, and the count 1-1. So he's got, there is Straker, and he's got Berenguer with the jacket on, who has finished warming up on his way back to the dugout. And he knows he has Reardon to close, and he knows he has Schatzeder if he's got to get a left-handed hitter out. McGee, easy play. 2 gone here in the 7th inning. And now Gene Larkin, the Columbia University graduate. Funny thing, Larkin and John Morris, the reserve outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, both kids on Long Island, and knew each other. They've known each other since they were about 8 or 9 years old. And here they are in the World Series. 2-0. And of course, heading Larkin's bio forever will be the fact that not only that he went to Columbia, but the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig, went to Columbia.
Larkin breaking almost all of the Iron Horse's records at Columbia.
Ground ball corralled by Oquendo, and that's that. So Tudor does a real nice job, but he is still in arrears. 1-0 Twins, bottom of the 7th.
Attention, please.
Let's get the lowdown on Juan Berenguer from the Milwaukee Brewers' Paul Molitor.
Now pitching for the Twins.
It's no secret Juan's best pitch is his fastball. He likes to just get out there and rear back and fire. It makes it a little disconcerting for the hitter because he's not sure where it's going all the time. He likes to get you with 2 strikes and get you to chase that high fastball out of the strike zone or throw that split-fingered pitch which bounces in the dirt, but the hitters have a tendency to chase. When you get runners on base against Juan, they have a chance to run because he doesn't worry about people on base. He's concerned with getting that hitter out.
And he has a man on base as Jose Oquendo wraps the first pitch into center field for a base hit. So the tying run is on. Pena comes to the plate, and Pendleton comes out on deck. Remember, Pendleton can only hit left-handed, and with the righty in there now, Berenguer, it's Pendleton who comes out on deck, and I would suspect Schatzeder would be getting up in the bullpen. The Twins were stirring, but no action. One thing about Schatzeder, if they bring him in, then Pendleton can't hit. But for right now, it's Berenguer, and Pena up there to bunt. Strike. 0-1.
Tony really giving himself up much, much too early. When a pitcher does this, it's one thing. You can kind of understand it, but Tony, an experienced hitter, and by giving yourself up too early, you give the first baseman Herbeck a chance to break and Gaetti a chance to break. Too early.
Pena showing bunt all the way and missing. And quickly it's 0-2. And Nick Leyva will have to send a new sign out now. There's Pendleton with Worrell in the bullpen. It will be Todd in the 8th. Hit into right field for a base hit. And Oquendo will stop at second. And now that Whitey needs a bunt, he had brought Pendleton back initially, or Perry had gone into the dugout, but now he will come up and back.
And speaking of bunts, it was the lack of the bunt that allowed Pena to hit with 2 strikes, and now he turns it to a base hit.
With a 1-run lead, you'll always take the out. And what turns out a situation where they'll give you the out, they don't get it, and now you have the winning run at first, tie run at second.
This is an interesting choice here by Herzog. If he wanted to bunt here, he wouldn't waste Pendleton, you wouldn't think, in this situation. He'd go to somebody else on the bench and save Terry. And Terry had gone back into the dugout just for a moment, conferred with Whitey, and then Whitey decides to send him up here in the 7th inning.
We'll see how the Twins play it also, whether Gaetti will charge. It's called a rotation play. The first baseman and third baseman charge. The shortstop goes to third, and the second baseman goes to first base. They appear to be playing it straight up. They're not sure he's bunting or not.
And he squared the bunt and takes low. Remember, another thing about Pendleton, too, and he's going to go down and have a chat with Leyva. He's got the pulled rib muscles left side. He can swing left-handed, he can't swing right-handed, and I asked him about running, and he said it hurts, and it particularly hurts when he starts to run. So he's slower than obviously he would normally be, and he's a pretty quick man if he's healthy. He lays it down. It is a beauty, and he is out at first, probably only because he's not as fast as he normally would be. But he gets the runners over. It was that close.
What makes this play so tough for Gaetti is that Baron Garrett just stands on the mound. He comes in. This is how you win a Gold Glove. You make a good throw. Looks like it had him by about a quarter of a step. Very close. Excellent bunt.
So Herzog is able to advance the runners on Pendleton's bunt, and Vince Coleman now, who's drawn a blank. He's 0 for 3 and 1 for 11 in the series. Infield up at first and third, back at short and second, 0 and 1.
During the regular season, 300 from this side and 268 from the right side, so a much better hitter. See Tony Pena saying, calm down, get a good pitch to hit. And that's why Coleman had his best year, a career year this year.
Another strike at the knees. Coleman thought it was below when it's 0-2.
I'll tell you, if you're the Minnesota outfielders, Kirby Puckett, of course, plays a very deep center field. Brunansky in right field too deep. You got to make Vince Coleman hit the ball over your head, especially from the left side. He has no punch from the left side.
Ripped foul, still 0-2.
I don't know if you'll agree, Tim, but the key here is to get him to swing at a ball. It's something we talked about the other night.
Preferably a ball upstairs.
Or in the dirt.
Yeah, or in the dirt.
Of course, with one out, you get another look. John McCherry with the out call that Pendleton obviously doesn't agree with.
All he needs is a fly ball. He hit only one though all season. He grounds it fair for a base hit. Oquendo scores. Pena scores. The Cardinals lead 2-1.
Busch Stadium sometimes is a billiards table, and especially when you slice the ball over the third base bag. You don't see it from this particular perspective, but you will right here. Down and in, playing percentage baseball. Gaetti's over in the hole. Double. And if somebody doesn't touch it or doesn't get caught there, it's going to be a triple.
Ozzie Smith with Coleman going and safe.
23rd time he has stolen third base this year.
You can kind of understand Coleman's reasoning right here. You've got the Twins on the run. It's really the first time that the Cardinals have had the lead in this series. Actually, the second time the Cardinals have had the lead.
They had it early in game one. They thought the squeeze might be on and pitched out 1-1. Infield playing in.
When you get a team like the Twins, you're going to try to utilize all your weapons, and with one out, a good chance to steal third, because now you can score on something other than a hit.
Base hit, 3-1 Cardinals. Tudor is in, and this town is very much alive and awake and into it now, and what a difference a lead will make.
Now entering the game to pitch for Minnesota,
Ozzie Smith driving in Coleman, 3-1 St. Louis. Dan Schatzeder now pitching with Tommy Herr at the plate. 1 out, Ozzie Smith at first, 3-1 Cardinals in the 7th inning. Schatzeder steps back and throws to first base, which he was prone to do. That's grounded to Gaetti. Nice pickup and then dropped by Lombardozzi, but he stays on the bag. A good recovery. Thinking too, all of a sudden he was able to keep his foot on the bag and corral the ball for the force.
And Ozzie Smith slides too soon. He's trying to get out of the way of the expected throw by Lombardozzi, and had he kept going, he's on second base. But because the ball was hit so sharply, Gaetti got rid of the ball in a hurry. Lombardozzi was able to drop the ball, pick it up, and get the force.
Now Dreesen, and the count 1-0. Kerr at first base, 2 down. Danny on a check swing, grounds it into the Minnesota dugout. 1-1. So Berenguer gets lit up. Schatzeder, who was up, remember it was Schatzeder and Berenguer loosening in the pen in the 6th. When Kelly was thinking ahead, he opts for Berenguer, and then Juan gives up the singles to Oquendo and Pena, and then Schatzeder gets up. And remember, if Schatzeder had come in to face Pendleton, Pendleton could not have hit because he can only bat left-handed, so Whitey would have been forced to make another move. He would have lost Pendleton and had somebody else come in. And then the other thing Schatzeder could have done is faced a Coleman and Smith batting from their weaker sides.
But I am sure that Tom Kelly, after the type of year that Berenguer had pitching in 4 out of the 5 games, even though Schatzeder had his best really pitching performances in the playoffs. 4 1/3 innings, only 2 or 3 hits with 5 strikeouts.
Ground ball to Lombardozzi, and that's that. But the Cardinals score 3 on 4 hits, and at the end of 7, 3-1 St. Louis. All he needs is a fly ball. He hit only 1 though all season. He grounds it fair for a base hit. Oquendo scores. Pena scores. The Cardinals lead 2-1. Todd Worrell is coming into pitch for the St. Louis Cardinals. The inside pitch on Worrell from Tony Gwynn.
Todd Worrell, when he comes in, he's not concerned about runners on base. He's just concerned about getting the hitter out, and he's going to come at you with his best stuff, his fastball. I think he's an intimidating type of reliever. He's 6'5", 220, 230, and he's going to come at you with his best pitch. And if he's on, good luck, because you might not hit him.
As the Kansas City Royals found out almost 2 years ago to the night when he struck out 6 in a row, Jim Lindemann takes over at first base. He's going to hit in the 9 spot, and Worrell hits in the 4 spot. Dreesen comes out of the game. Dreesen made the last out in the 7th. So the Cardinals now very much alive, asking for breath, down 1-0 and 2 games to nothing, with Worrell facing Gladden here in the 8th inning. 1-0. He's everywhere. Dan Dierdorf, no doubt in a seat given to him, and his wife, Debbie, our Monday Night Football colleague. One and one. And a former Cardinal himself. The Gridbirds, though, the other Cardinals.
So the first 2 pitches, 97 on the first one for a ball, and takes a little bit off and gets it over at 95. Nice position to be in.
Catch it if you can.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, he does have a slider, and as we talked about on Sunday night when he came in to really not to mop up, but just to get an inning's work, threw a great changeup in the playoffs to strike out Will Clark. So you throw that once in a while, you get the hitter looking for it, and then you buzz it by at 97.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Gladden. Gagne on deck, and then Puckett. 1 away.
Perfect ball club to pitch against. Very aggressive swinging club. The Twins, 1 and 2, you get ahead, you hit the glove at 95, 96 miles per hour. Hitter just can't catch up. just a little bit out of the strike zone. You see that ball very well.
1-0 the count on Gagne, who is 0 for 2 tonight. And he is 1 for 11 now in the series.
Well, Gagne 1 for 11, even though he walked the last time up. You'd think that if you've been around, he really hasn't been around that long, he'd take it without even getting a sign.
3-2 to him. A little looper. Tommy Herr going out with Lindemann, and Herr makes the catch. Tommy slightly misgauged it, but still was able to reach down and make the catch.
And that was a fair ball. The ball looked like it was drifting foul, but Tommy at the last minute makes the stab. I think he had an idea about maybe Lindemann catching the ball. Now Lindemann tails off of the ball, and had that ball been in there, Tommy could have kicked it over near the bullpen, and Gagne could have ended up on third base.
2 down, bases empty. Kirby Puckett, the batter. And he's getting a little serenade. Kirby, strike. The Cardinal fans, you can recall what they did in the National League Championship Series with Leonard, the Jeffrey. I suspect that Jeff Reardon may get that same sort of response when he comes in. Hit to right field, Ford on the run, and he can't cut the ball off. And Puckett is at least to second. Kirby is on his way to third, and he's in there. So Ford not only can't catch it, he can't cut it off. And the Twins have a man at third with 2 down.
Well, Tony Gwynn said he can be intimidating, he can be overpowering, and he was to the first 2 hitters. Then he tries a slider, and Puckett just pokes it into right. Kurt Ford knows how quick Puckett is, tries to cut it off, and instead of a double, it really turns out to be a triple.
You can afford to try to make a play like that with 2 outs as opposed with nobody out or 1 out.
And also with a 3-1 lead.
Yeah.
Gaetti now, silent tonight, but a big postseason for him. Fastball fouled away, and it's 0-1.
I'll tell you, Jim, right before that pitch, Tony Pena looked to the dugout and asked if he should move Oquendo over toward the line. Now, Oquendo, normally a shortstop or middle infielder, moved over toward the line, but I don't agree with that. Not with Worrell pitching and Gaetti hitting. He's not going to pull the ball down the line unless the ball's down. So what you're doing, in effect, is you're giving up a run. And Nick Leyva is moving Oquendo almost right on the line.
What's he
and
doing?
Lindemann also.
He is moving him where he's most likely not apt to hit the ball.
That's
that
right.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Rip right at him. How about that?
Genius.
Well, we're unbelievably dumb.
Well, I'll tell you. I accept.
Give that man a Harvard PhD.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Cardinals in Major League Baseball are
right there
on the copy of the official World Series program. It's the perfect souvenir of your visit.
Going to the bottom of the 8th inning, St. Louis on top by a score of 3-1 as they try to work their way back into the series. Otherwise, the alternative is 0-3, and nobody's ever come back from that deficit. Right now, they lead 3-1. McGee facing Schatzeder in the bottom of the 8th inning. 2-0 the count. It's McGee, Ford, and Oquendo. And then when the Twins come up in the 9th inning, it's Brunansky, Herbeck, and Wadner. The Twins are at the 5, 6, and 7 spots. 2-1 on Willie McGee. Swinging late, and it's 3-2. See McGee shaking that wrist. It's still bothering him. And has through all the postseason, but he is still 5 for 10 in the World Series. And he goes down on strikes. So Willie McGee is gone, and Kurt Ford will be the hitter.
I'll tell you, you look back on that top of the 8th inning, and with Gaetti the hitter, the chances of him pulling a ball down the line are slim. And he pulls the ball right down the line, right where they had put Oquendo.
Ford tries to drag his way on successfully. And here comes Oquendo.
Well, smart play, left-hander versus left-hander. He doesn't face that many left-handers. He knows he can't probably hit him. Has great speed. He's in the game because he's a better outfielder with a 3-1 lead. Whitey wants him in there. There's some sensible baseball, and you're seeing Cardinal baseball. We've seen that the last 3 innings.
Funny that Oquendo played. I mean, Whitey is already referred to as a genius to begin with. And then those are the little things that so few people ever see. And that makes him a genius with a capital G. 1-0 the count. Or at least it turns out that way in that instance.
Yep.
Well, it does.
That's exactly right.
Percentage, you know, really what happens when you play down the line and you got a guy throwing 98 miles per hour, even though Gaetti, we saw him hit a couple of home runs in the playoffs to right field, you're playing a guy out of position, but it worked out fine that time.
Ford goes and it's fouled away and the count 1-1.
You're actually playing the exception instead of the rule, and the exception happened.
Which makes it exceptional.
Yes, it does.
It certainly does.
Speaking of exceptional, the man, Stan Musial.
Could hit a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
You saw him live, and then if you'd like to see him in bronze, you just walk out on the street beyond center field. Statue of Stan. Fly ball to shallow right center and an easy play for Lombardozzi. So 2 gone, and it will bring up Tony Pena. And we tell you that this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. 2 out, bottom of the 8th inning. Ford at first, going. The pitch is a strike. The throw is in time to get it. So Gagne puts the tag on. Ford is gone, and so are the Cardinals in the 8th inning. So it'll be Brunansky, Herbeck, and Laudner in the 9th. St. Louis 3, Minnesota 1. Todd Worrell, and you can do a lot of things with him, as you know. Occasionally, he has been moved to right field when Ken Daly was brought in from the bullpen to face one left-handed batter. And what you have here in the 9th inning with Daly throwing in the bullpen is the right-hand batting Brunansky, then the left-hand batting Herbeck, then the right-hand batting Laudner. Coming up 1, 2, 3. Brunansky is 1 for 3, strike. Then, if somebody were to get on, you've got Lombardozzi, a right-handed batter, and on the bench, of course, he has, among others, the left-hand batting Randy Bush. So a lot of things going on here in the 9th. 0-2. Worrell trying to make it all moot.
Well, what isn't moot is the intriguing situation now that's come up for Tom Kelly. He's gone with a setup man in 2 ball games, Sunday and tonight, Juan Berenguer, and he's pitched ineffectively. So if you're looking down the road, what's he going to do to his pitcher selection over the next couple of games?
To center field, McGee circles it and makes the catch. So 1 away, Willie McGee chasing down Brunansky's drive, and now Herbeck the batter. And with him having gotten Brunansky, Worrell will face Herbeck. He still has Daly in the pen. Again, if the Twins get something going, it could be that Randy Bush could come off the bench. He would be their prime left-handed hitter. They also have the switch hitting Smalley and the right-hand batting Baylor. 1-0. Tim Laudner is on deck.
Tell you, Al, People talk about the fundamentals. It was the Cardinals' lack of fundamentals, Tony Pena not being able to get the bunt down, that led to the 3-run 7th. Had he gotten the bunt down, then he doesn't get the base hit, and Pendleton doesn't bunt.
Smith to Lindemann.
You don't really know how that inning would have gone, but the fact that Tony didn't get the bunt down, he did get the base hit to right field to open things up for the Cardinals.
So 2 down, and now Randy Bush will bat for Laudner despite the hot Laudner bat. And he is 5 for 9. What Kelly needs here is not a home run, he just needs a base runner. And so he's got a better chance with Bush, the left-handed batter, to get on. And then he'll worry about Lombardozzi's spot next. 1-0. We were talking earlier, Tim, about how quiet this town was yesterday and the lack of the anticipation we saw in '85, but a victory will turn it into the St. Louis that we've all known for years.
Oh, certainly.
One and one. To right field. Ford is there. Cards with it. Is at least temporarily derailed. The Cardinals win it by a score of 3-1. Twins still leading the series 2-1. In a moment, Reggie Jackson with Whitey Herzog and Vince Coleman. Some interesting strategy and some very clutch hitting, and the Cardinals beat the Twins 3-1. And for the whole story, let's go to Reggie Jackson.
Thank you very much, Al. Vince, myself, and the rest of the country had been waiting to see your speed, waiting to see you electrify a crowd, and finally you did tonight.
Well, basically, first of all, I had to get on base to have some input into the World Series. You know, I set out in '85, and, you know, this year I'm just thanking the Lord for being, you know, confident in myself and my ability to stick with it and to go out and do something productive.
Put any more pressure on yourself when you know you don't have the big guns in the lineup like Pendleton and Clark? You try to do a little bit more?
Well, every day I come to the ballpark, I look forward to get 2 or 3 hits, to steal 2 or 3 bases, and score 3 or 4 runs. I figure if I do that, then the Cardinals are going to win.
Tell me about it. You do that, and they're certainly going to win. Nice ball game. Whitey Herzog, does it put any more pressure on your pitching staff when your offense has been playing like it has the last couple of months, not scoring a lot of runs?
Yeah, Reggie, without Jack and Terry in the lineup, we've lost a lot of offense. And, you know, as you know, our top 3 haven't really been hitting. Vince got a big one for us tonight, but our pitchers know they have to go out there and pitch a low-run ball game. Tudor did the job tonight. We're all closed it out, but we got to get another good one tomorrow night.
You're back in your home ballpark right now. You've got your fans. You've got the people that are pulling for you all the time. Better ball club here?
Well, that's going to help us, but now we got to hope that Matthews goes out tomorrow night, Reg, and keeps us in the ball game, gives us a chance to win. And tonight, I didn't know we were going to get a run, and I worry about that every night. And we just got to keep scratching and do the best we can.
Nothing's easy in this game, is it?
Nothing's easy, I'll tell you that.
Thank you very much, Whitey. Let's go back down, Michael.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Reggie. And Busch Stadium emptying out. Happy throng of more than 55,000 looking on as the Cardinals win it by a score of 3-1.